from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. From inside of these Cafe Kubal studios, I want to thank Cafe Kubal for all they do in our community. You can find them on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York. You can find them in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building in their double-decker cafe out at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius. And, of course, celebrating its one-year anniversary, head out to the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road to Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse for their drive-through. So, with that being said, we have a jam-packed show here celebrating the move that we just got this week on the heels of the information. Now, remember that just a few days ago, Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, who is a mainstay here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, had let you all know that the anticipatory time that these 6 new institutions will join as full members was going to be July 1st, 2023. But now we can officially say that that is going to happen, as UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston will be heading out. We will see all of our new teams heading in, including UAB, North Texas, and UTSA, who will be joining me today. UNC Charlotte, Rice, as well as FAU will be joining us here very soon, and I will have the opportunity to speak with the leaders of each of these wonderful institutions about their move officially July 1st, 2023, so about a year away. So today we're going to start off the show inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' with Mark Ingram here from the UAB Blazers, University of Alabama, Birmingham, here with us. And I was talking to him off the air about how much I absolutely love this logo. So Mark Ingram will be joining us here, the Associate VP and Director of Athletics, this morning for hour number 1. And in hour number 2, around 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Wren Baker, North Texas Vice President and Director of Athletics, will be joining us. And then we'll round out the show with Lisa Campos, the UTSA VP for Intercollegiate Athletics. And then we will end our show as we normally do at 11 a.m. and be back for a bonus broadcast at noon Eastern Time live, as the American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Oresco will be joining us once again to give us his thoughts now that this is all made public. So a lot of great stuff coming up this morning, and all related to the American Athletic Conference that we appreciate and respect so very much. So with that being said, let's bring in Mark Ingram. Mark, how are we doing today?
Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for having me, Dan.
Absolutely. And, Mark, first and foremost, very happy to have you back here on the show, and appreciate when the news broke on my birthday on October 21st that we got to have the conversation about you joining the American. Now that you know that we have the tangible date, and that, we knew this was going to be a reality, but now we know the actual date of it all. What does that do for you? What does it do for the institution to finally have it set and locked in, and it's not a maybe, it's not a when, it's not a let's hope that it is, but it's a definite at this point?
Yeah, Dan, there are so many details that go into your planning, like any business, when you're thinking about, what's your budget for next year, what about the year after that, this sort of thing. There's got to be 1,000 details that this helps with in terms of our planning for the future. And with our coaches, as you can imagine, when they're recruiting, now they can definitively say, this is when we're going in. Whereas over the last, 8 months, they've been saying, well, we think it'll be 23, but it might be 24. Now we're able to really laser in and focus on 23 and start recruiting the kind of talent that we need to compete in that league.
And you bring up a great point, like you said, where, you're out on the recruiting trail, and that's the question is, who are we going to be going up against, and what's the timetable look like and whatnot. Now that the coaches can do that, how did you try to work with your head coaches and coaching staffs within all of this? Because as you don't know, they don't know. So what has been the kind of rolling dialogue with your coaching staffs at UAB about this process, and how has it been? How much information do you give, and how have you worked with them to figure out, exactly how to kind of navigate this together?
There had been some speculation that the American was going to add one school at some point because they had 11. And whether or not that was accurate or just some, again, speculation by a lot of us, I don't know, but our coaches and I have been working towards trying to be the very best in Conference USA that we could be, and then if in fact they added somebody, maybe they would find us attractive for the reasons that we think we are attractive, and so this has been kind of a off to the side, something that we've sort of had our eyes on, and I'm sure we're not alone there. And then when Texas and Oklahoma made the decision to move, and we knew that the Big 12 was going to react, which of course they did, but that's when we started having more substantive conversations with them. And it started with, hey, coaches, would this be good for us? I know a lot of our fans were excited about being able to, renew our rivalries with teams like Memphis, for example. But no offense to our fans, they don't necessarily know the intricacies of, what each sport might say. You might say, well, it's a great basketball league, but, well, okay, is it a good baseball league? Or what about softball? Is it a good softball league? So you start going through it one sport at a time and deciding, okay, would this be a better league or not in terms of competition? And in about every way it is. And so, but it started with that conversation with our coaches. Hey, let's just put it out there. Is it better? It seems like it is. Our fans want to go. We think we'd like to associate. We like the university institutional association. But what do we not know? And that's where it began. And we even met with all of our deans, and we met with all of our the president's cabinet. Our president, Dr. Watson, I met with his cabinet, which is all of our vice presidents, to ask that same question. What do you think? This is what we can tell you. This is what we know. This is what we don't know.
Yeah.
And that was all just leading up to that moment when they finally did, in fact, invite us. But since that time, we have a monthly head coaches meeting, and we have a monthly all staff meeting, which is everybody in our department. And this has been a topic every month. Now, I will say it's felt a bit like a broken record having to every month say, we don't know any more than we did last month. But saying it and what we could say and just keeping everybody informed as best we could. If there was news to share, we shared it. It's been, again, tedious, I think, and difficult at times for our coaches when they're recruiting and having to answer that question. When we've got an opening right now, our softball coach position is open, and we're about to see, as an administration within athletics, how different will it be recruiting a coach to a different conference. You're talking about an elevated group of folks that so now we're recruiting for a coach to be in the American Conference, because we'll be there, one more year in Conference USA, and then boom, we're playing in the American.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, there's all these intricate pieces that go into it, and is it the right league for all of our sports, not just one of them, and how do we benefit from all of this, and that as well as what you said about the fact of when you're looking for a new head coach. It's different in saying, okay, well, this is going to be our competition now. This is what we're looking for. These are the schools we're playing against. Do they have maybe recruiting connections to these states now? I mean, there's a lot that goes into it that changes, so you have to be prepared for that. And like you said, you don't want to say maybe, but you're in a position where you kind of had to start things out and say that and say, okay, well, this is what we think is going to happen, and as opposed to what could actually happen. So going through this process, Mike Oresco told me a long time ago, the commissioner of the American, that, he wasn't going to go out there and beg anybody. He wasn't going to go and make a ton of phone calls and say, okay, like, who's coming with me? So what was it like? I mean, did you reach out? Did UAB kind of put the feelers out there? How did it come about between the American and UAB? Was it a mutual kind of like, hey, we crossed paths and we kind of just were talking about it when we were at a banquet together? Or was it, hey, they kind of just said, are you interested? Or did you take the approach and kind of take the initiative?
Yeah, they called us. It was 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time on a Monday, and invited us. I don't know if that was your birthday or if it was a couple days later, but said this is what we're looking at. We have great interest in you. Would you have interest? It was when it happened. It happened fast, and we had wondered. You recall a couple of years ago, Dan, when the Big 12 was talking about expansion.
Yeah.
And they interviewed schools to ultimately not add anybody. You recall that?
Yeah, I do.
And we just weren't sure what approach the American might have. Excuse me. And we thought, well, do we need some laser light show? Do we need to bring the marching band with us? We're gonna, we have to do. And so we were preparing, for some sort of presentation if necessary, but it wasn't. And I think our results have spoken for themselves, and Birmingham speaks for itself. And one of the things that we have to our advantage is that the Birmingham Bowl is aligned with the American Athletic Conference. So the commissioner or an associate commissioner, there are some members of the staff came to Birmingham every year for that bowl game and saw, what Birmingham had to offer as a city in terms of population. And it's had a major revitalization here. And so anybody that visits is able to see those things. And I think that's been a part of it. And UAB's campus is not in downtown, but right next to downtown. I mean, you almost can't tell where one starts and the other stops. And so while visiting, I think they've had a chance to see our campus, drive through our campus, and see our growth specifically within athletics. So we may have had an advantage there as well.
Speaking here with Mark Ingram of UAB, always happy to be here and celebrating the American and everything that they've done in the last decade. We've been there since the beginning, and I had the opportunity to be arm in arm with Mike Oresco and standing next to him before the conference even had a logo and a name. And we're here today with Mark Ingram, UAB Blazers Associate VP and Director of Athletics. You said that they gave you a call and an invitation, and it was pretty quick and pretty rapid. What, I know we talked about this a few months back here, but looking back, hindsight 2020, what is it about the American that made you think it was worth making a move? Because here you are in Conference USA, and I'd love to get your thoughts on Conference USA and what made you stay there as long as you have. But what was it about the American that made you think, hey, we respect Conference USA, but we feel like this is going to be a step up for us?
From an institutional alignment perspective, the universities in the American are a lot more like UAB. That was a real draw for us institutionally. And from an academic standpoint, we're a lot more like them. And we also, as an institution, like the idea of the cities that they represent. So from a student recruitment standpoint, for our general student population, being able to carry our brand, our logo that you love so much, carry our brand to Tulsa and Dallas and Memphis and New Orleans and Philadelphia and Baltimore, Washington, these areas that, Tampa, these are good places for us to recruit students, not just student athletes, but recruit students. And our provost was fantastic when we were going through this and having this conversation with faculty and other members of the university leadership. She was one to say that. She said, we really think this is important for us from a student recruitment perspective. And there was just so much value in hearing her say that. And we felt that way from an athletic standpoint, but it was so meaningful to have her say that in that time for everybody else to think about it beyond. It's big for our sports programs, but it's so much bigger, well beyond that. And so, she was really important during that time. You mentioned Conference USA, and Why did we stay in Conference USA? Dan, we are a 27-year charter member of Conference USA, and have been proud to say that, quite frankly. And you mentioned that you've been with the Americans since they didn't have a name or a logo. Well, in some odd ways, I have too. I was working at Temple University when the American was formed, and I remember when Mike Oresco came to our offices in Philadelphia, and I remember being in our conference room and him having like a storyboard of sorts, and he said, "We think we're going to call it the American, and this is the logo we're looking at. What do you guys think?" I remember that moment myself, but so even though I took a break to come here and be in Conference USA, I in some ways have been there since the beginning too. But and I'll tell you, at that time when the American was formed, UAB wasn't even on the table for discussion. And what I learned when I got here is that we had built an arena, it's now more than 30 years ago, and when we built that arena, UAB didn't even so much as change the carpet in anybody's office in the athletic department until I got here, and we just did not modernize our program and continue to improve our facilities in a way to be competitive. And schools like Memphis and East Carolina, who left, and Cincinnati and the others who went to the American, they knew that. From having been here, they knew that. Dan, this is a story that our fans have probably grown tired of hearing, but it's just true, and it's the most, it's the strongest example of what I mean. We have had a track team now for more than 45 years, and our track, when I got here, the track was in the shape of a square.
Yeah.
And and so people just they go, "No, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we got a track, your oval track that every high school in America has. Yeah. Ours was a 4-lane track that was in the shape of a square, and not only was it in the shape of a square, but it sloped 10 feet. You ran downhill, and then you turned left, and you ran flat, and then you turned left, and you went uphill, and then you ran, and you made a left, and you went flat. I mean, it was crazy. And our football practice field was inside that sloped square track. And so we just did not demonstrate as an institution or as a department that we had any interest in being competitive or being better. And so why should we be invited into the American? We were, quite frankly, lucky that Conference USA let us stay in. And then we, of course, eliminated football and bowling and rifle, and Conference USA had an opportunity to cut us loose then too, and chose to allow us to stay. So we're grateful to Conference USA. It's been terrific for us. We're going to be flag carrying members of the league until June 30th at midnight next summer. So we're going to do all we can to be strong contributors of Conference USA right up to the end.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I respect that, and I hope that Conference USA does as well. As we are here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios with UAB Associate VP and Director of Athletics Mark Ingram, celebrating now that we know the move is officially July 1st, 2023. And you said a lot within all of that, and about this move and about wanting to get better and wanting to advance and whatnot. UAB has found a way to get themselves out there to demand that respect. And when we look across the many sports programs that you have, Mark, what can you say maybe sticks out the most here in 2022 that as you are getting ready for this move to the American Athletic, what are some of the things within your athletic programs that you just feel are those great foundational pieces to springboard off and say, hey, when we come to the American, these are some of the teams that we have that are doing X, Y, and Z. What should we be prepared for UAB?
Yeah, I think we can be competitive day one in football and men's basketball and men's golf. Those three programs will compete day one for a championship. I really believe that. And yeah, and then there's the next one. Softball has a real chance to be competitive. Volleyball does. I mean, we've got teams that have all the pieces in place for success. But football, men's basketball, and men's golf stand out as the ones who, as soon as we join, will compete at a high level.
The football program has such a unique history, and I know we talked about this last time, but a true resurrection, a program that was canceled, a program that was let go of, and then to see the response of the community and the desire to not let that be a permanent cancellation, and to see its reemergence and immediate success. UAB really has a true redemption story, a rebirth. And so when it comes to that football program itself, you embody the American Athletic Conference as they rose like a phoenix. UAB did the exact same thing, and it makes sense with being called the Blazers. So it's almost poetic what your football program has done and the conference that you're going to be joining as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that was so far in our rearview mirror now, but
yeah,
it was the best thing that ever happened to us. That's what people probably can't appreciate and may not appreciate for a long time is just we were not, our finances were not being managed the way they needed to be. My predecessor and some at the university level were permitted to have a different model. That's not to say they were doing anything wrong. They were given a different model to work from, and than the one that I have. But the one that I have is strictly to stay within my budget, and that's not unusual. And I think when I say that, most people kind of nod their head like, well, yeah, right. But that's not what again my predecessor had to do, but it became, I'll just say, somewhat out of control. And finally, our board and other leadership around the university, we gotta stop this. And so we eliminated football for all the right reasons. And at the time, the thinking was, and again, if you could imagine going back 8 years ago, the thinking was, hey, look, we've tried football for 25 years. Our football practice facility is awful. It's got not just that field that sloped 10 feet, but we've got there was this tiny little building. It was about 3,000 square feet that all of our staff worked in. Next to that was a maintenance shed that they converted. Half of it became the locker room and half of it became an empty room with folding chairs, and that was the only meeting space. And then that sloped field outside, and then two or 3 miles away, we had Legion Field where we played. And Legion Field is a historic place that once proudly, promoted its history and so forth. But it's just now it's really just becoming a really old stadium. I mean, we're getting close to a 100-year-old facility now, and it shows it in a lot of ways. And so. If you can imagine 8 years ago saying, look, there's not a plan to really get better, let's go be Wichita State. Let's go be VCU. We've had good success in basketball. Let's take our finances and let's, redirect those monies to basketball and other things, and let's be Wichita State. And I think for a lot of people that made a lot of sense. But when that happened, there were people from the community that stepped up saying, whoa, wait a minute, what is this about? And it really, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to any of those fans, but it did force some people who used to say, well, I'm a big fan. The question then turned on them is, well, in what way are you a big fan? Do you come to games?
Yeah.
You don't, because you don't come to games. We've never seen you. What do you mean you're a fan? Or how? You like emotionally? Oh, I've always supported that team. How have you supported that team? So we were able to clearly define, like, hey, support means we need your money. We need you to come to games. We need you to buy tickets. We need you to get your friends to do that.
Yeah.
You know, we need you to make donations to our program so that we can be successful. And to their credit, they have. And our Birmingham community has stepped up in a major way. And it seems funny to say they didn't know, but it's almost like they just didn't realize, you know, and how or why, I'm not sure, and it's probably different fan to fan, but it has just been a remarkable story and something that you almost, you know, it's like a movie script, you know, it's like, no way would this really happen. No, it really has. It really has. I mean, I was in a meeting, Dan. I had taken this job on May 1st of 2015, and we reinstated football June 1st, so a month later.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, when I say took the job, I was offered the job on May 1. I wasn't on the ground yet. I was offered the job. We had a press conference about 4 days later, and then a week after that, I was at our spring meetings for CUSA to try to, you know, navigate this situation. And then I guess I got on the ground about the middle of the month, like on campus. And I was here about a week or so, and we had a meeting in this big conference room in the president's near the president's office. And somebody from the university development staff, development's fundraising, they said, walking into the meeting, they said, Mark, you don't know any of these people. But they said, you remember when you were a kid, you used to watch that cartoon, the Super Friends with all the superheroes? And I said, yeah. And she said, this is Birmingham's Hall of Justice. This is like walking. She said, all these people know each other, but I bet they've never been in the same room together ever.
Wow.
And it was just like Birmingham's heavyweights. And so we go in and we're talking, and the president and myself and another person, vice president for finance, gave this very short presentation as to, you know, why had football been eliminated? Why? How much money did we need? They had prior to my arrival, they had done a study to see how much money it would take to get football back, which was $17.2 million. So we showed that number. Why is it 17.2? And here's how much money we've raised to date. And we said, we've got to raise this money by June 1st. And if we don't, we're not going to be able to stay in Conference USA, and we're not going to be able to reinstate football. And now this was probably like the 25th of May.
Yeah.
I mean, we're 4 or 5 days away from the day. And so there was somebody in the group that said to the president, you know, I came here tonight. I wasn't going to say anything, but I don't think we should have a football team if we don't have a new stadium. And it just sort of derailed the conversation for a minute, because it felt like everybody was sort of saying the right stuff. Like, you know, we got to do something about this, and this is just so important. And UAB is the largest employer in the state of Alabama. So it's not just about the football team. It's about how does athletics help the university be a strong, vibrant institution and good for the community. Beyond, we've got one of the nation's best hospitals, which this group of people very well knows. And so this one individual said that about the stadium, and a lot of people agreed. So now, you know, it was like things were sounding pretty good, and then the train went off the tracks for a second, and I thought, oh my gosh, we were so close. You could feel it. Yeah. Everybody was almost getting ready to say, I'm in for this. And then it got derailed. And this other gentleman, there were so many people in the room. There were people around the conference table, but then there were people in a row of chairs on the wall behind. And this gentleman stood up behind me, directly behind me, and he raised his hand, and I didn't even know he was standing. And the president acknowledged him, and he quieted everybody. He says, hold on, everybody. Mike's got something to say. Mike, go ahead. And he says, you know, Dr. Watts, I'm not a sports fan. And I immediately thought, oh, no. That's not, I thought, oh, no, it's not good. He says, I'm not a sports fan. He says, I've never been to one of your football games. I think I've been to one basketball game, maybe ever. And this gentleman's probably 60, 65 at the time. And he says, but I've watched what this has done to our community, the turmoil that it's created for our university. We've got to fix this. I'm in for $1 million. And I mean, it was like, what did he just say? He doesn't go. He's not a sports fan, but he's in for $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that what he just said?
Yeah.
And then somebody else says, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, me too. And then somebody says, well, I can't do $1 million, but I can do 500,000. Okay, I'll do 500,000. I can't do 500. I can do 250. Yeah, okay, I can do 250. I'll do that too. And we raised like $5.5, $6 million in that meeting.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. I've raised money at every stop I've been. Part of my job has always been in fundraising my whole career, 25 plus years, and I've never even heard of anything like that. And it was just an amazing moment that changed everything. And because we were at about 12 million needing, maybe we were like 11 million needing 17.2, and we basically closed the gap right there.
Yeah. And that, I mean, and to think about that, what one meeting can do, right? What one conversation can do with the people that, have the ability to make that difference and make that change and whatnot. I mean, I love that you told that story, and I appreciate it so much. And that's coming to us once again this morning from the UAB Associate Vice President and Director of Athletics, Mark Ingram, here in our Making Moves special around the American Athletic Conference, adding their 6 new full-time members on July 1st, 2023. So here on Wake Up Call inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, I love that story because that is a story of a true, we don't know where we were going to go. We're trying to do this. We're pushing for this. I mean, that was a rags to riches, right? That was a, like you said, like a movie. It was the reality of this is what we need. We're trying to do this. We don't know if they're going to say yes. We don't know if they're going to give us an opportunity. We don't know if they care. And you didn't know where the conversation was going to go. You thought it was good, and then it shifted, and then you hear somebody say, I'm not a sports fan, and you think, oh my God, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Is it going to get better? And then all of a sudden, that person spearheads what is a domino effect of people giving back to UAB. And you telling that story, I feel like so many people see success, and they see it at the end. And they see it when it's happening. They see it when there's consistency. They see it when you're at the top of the mountain and you're going to climb the next one. But they don't see you go up it. You just told the story of, hey, we were at a place where we knew what we had to do. We had a few days to do it. And we were pulling all the stops to try and make this happen. But we had no concrete, this is going to actually happen. I value that story because that story is something that shows that it's not as easy as people think it is. And I just love that you told it because it makes real what UAB has done, and it makes it even more sweet to talk about it this morning.
Well, it definitely does. And, that was just part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We our president said to me, he said, look, if we have the money, I want to bring it back. But if we don't have it, he said, our university is excellent. He said, the academic complexion of our institution is excellent. And he said, I don't want anything less than that. He said, so we're not bringing it back just to limp along and be average. I don't want to do that. He said, so if we've got the money, we're going to bring it back. If we don't, we won't. And he said, the other thing is, he had me go and look at all of our facilities. Yeah, and you have to appreciate that my first couple of weeks on the job was nothing but centered around trying to figure out this, are we going to bring it back or not?
Yeah.
It was just time sensitive. Normally, the AD gets to show up and meet everybody and go around and tour the facilities and this kind of thing. I mean, there was just no time for that. But he said to me, he says, look, we're not going to continue to do this and have this awful facility for football. He says, we're going to do it. That's got to be part of it. So he had me go, and he arranged it. It was in the middle of the night, practically. I mean, not in the middle, but it was 9 o'clock at night. I did a facilities tour because I just hadn't really, when I interviewed here, I had sort of a driving tour, and but not like intimately in the locker rooms and that kind of thing. And I had driven past the football building, but I didn't go in it. So he said, hey, you need to go take a look at all this so you can appreciate what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's worse than I ever imagined. And he just said, we're not bringing it back unless that's part of it. So as soon as we reinstated the program, we were immediately working on, a design of a new facility and what's that going to cost and then trying to raise that money too. And we had really only had one, we had never really had a major capital fundraising effort. We had raised some money for capital things in the past. $500,000 for a locker room. Men's basketball had raised some money for a locker room. Yeah. When the arena was built, there was some small money raised. I say that meaning like a few $100,000, but nothing serious. And we were raising them just over $1 million a year through our annual fund. And so all of a sudden we did this 17.2 out of nowhere, and then we said, oh, and now we need another 22.5 for a football practice facility. We raised almost all that money in the following year. Over the course of the next year, we broke ground the following summer of 16, and then we opened it up in the summer of 17, right before we kicked off for our first game in the fall of 17. So we really raised right at $40 million. Yeah. For our football program in about a year, about 15, 16 months, So it was bigger than big, and you just can't. There's a lot of schools, whether you want to say, Group of 5, Power 5, whatever. There's a lot of places that can't do that, and so it's a testament to the people in Birmingham and their generosity. It's a very charitable place, a very giving community, and they proved it, no doubt.
And Mark, I mean, why do you think, like you said, you've raised money everywhere you've gone, but why do you think it just, I mean, what you talk about that meeting and needing to close the gap to that 17.2 million, and you did because you had a little bit over 11 and you're able to bring it in. But then to, speak with the powers that be and have that conversation and say, okay, well, we need a new stadium. And then in a year to raise $40 million altogether. Why do you think it happened? Was it once we know we're bringing football back, like you said, they have to do it the right way, but you still have to raise that money. So was it just like the feel good and the excitement that you felt like once the dominoes started rolling, people just started saying, hey, you know what, did you have to lose it to get it back? I mean, is that what it took? Because you said people were telling you, oh, I'm a fan, but I've never been to a game. Oh, I'm a fan, but I don't buy any merchandise. Oh, I'm a fan, but I never come on campus. So what did it for that, to raise that amount of money in that amount of time? And you're in the state of Alabama. Listen, there's Auburn there and obviously Alabama. And so you have, 2 programs in the SEC and with crazy wild money. So how does UAB have this domino effect that didn't just become a bunch of people saying, this is a really cool idea, but that people actually put their feet on the pavement, so to speak, and went after it? Like, why do you think once the dominoes started to fall and that momentum started to roll, that it kept rolling? Because sometimes it rolls to a halt, but it seemed like for UAB, it just kept rolling all the way through, and what you needed just continued to work toward fruition.
Yeah, we did an economic impact study through what's called the Birmingham Business Alliance. It's our Chamber of Commerce. And what we learned was that every 1,000 UAB students makes a $50 million annual economic impact of Birmingham. Let me say that again. Every 1,000 UAB students makes a $50 million annual economic impact to Birmingham. And so when you say that, and then so you sort of put a pin in that, and you say, how do people choose their university?
Yeah.
And I'm generalizing here, okay? But it's in one of two ways generally. One is, I grew up a fan of this school because my grandparents went to this school, my parents went to this school, and I was born, and they put me in diapers that had the logo on it, and I'm never going anywhere. This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
And there's that. And then there's the other, which is, my guidance counselor says I'm good at math and science, and maybe I should be an engineer. I drew a circle around Birmingham, what's 4 hours away, and, so let's see, UAB has engineering, Auburn, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, wherever else. And so they kind of narrow down their focus from their academic interest, but then they have to pick one. So how do they pick the one? So they start with academics, but so they got that crossed off. Okay, these schools are good at it, and within a distance I'm willing to go. But how do I choose the one? Well, how they choose the one is things like, what's the dorm like? What's the cafeteria like? How about this? The student rec center? Big. What's that like? And then what's college athletics? What's it like? And it's because, Dan, all those things are social, right? We figured out the academic piece, but now what about everything else? The social interaction piece. And so if that helps you grow your enrollment, having successful athletics, which it does, then and if the university wishes to grow its enrollment, which it did, and we know that by adding people to our enrollment is good for our community, we started telling that story to various business leaders, and we still tell that story. Business leaders around town to just say, this is why this is so important. It's not just about winning a little hunk of tin trophy that we can put on the shelf and collect dust. It's not just about winning a game or a contest. This is about, yes, winning, and that winning creates popularity and interest in the program and in the university. And it's how we promote the university. And by doing that, we add students. And by adding students, they come here and they make an economic impact into the community where you live. So it's not about, you mentioned Alabama and Auburn, it's not about not liking Alabama and Auburn. We haven't tried to change anyone's school colors. We've just asked them to recognize the value in us and support us too, And so that has resonated with people, and they've responded well, and that's how we've been able to do what we've done.
Yeah, and Bill, I mean, this really is a passion project, right? UAB and connecting with the community and what this has become today, and to be enticing as we're here with UAB Associate Vice President and Director of Athletics on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here with Mark Ingram this morning. And you're joining a conference. Now, here's the beauty of this. You talk about UAB's, just kind of rising up, and everything that you became today came with hard work, dedication, determination, and came with blood, sweat, and tears. It came with those moments of what are we going to do and how are we going to do it, and let's figure this out, and we need a plan B and a plan C and maybe a plan D. You're now joining a conference that's gone through multiple iterations, but coming out of all of this, the beauty of the American is Mike Oresco and his team somehow, some way, and I've known this because I've been with them for a decade, they somehow find a way to look better and to have something positive to promote after all of this realignment happens, and then it happens again, and then potentially it almost happens again. This is a conference whose coaches, especially in football, are looked to be poached every single year. They had to deal with the Big 12 a few years ago when we were at the American Athletic Conference summer kickoff. That's what everybody wanted to talk about. Is the Big 12 going to steal your teams, yada, yada. The quote-unquote Power 5 tries to steal coaches every single year when it comes to the sport of football. And I tell people all the time, if the American wasn't good, why do you want their schools? And why do you want their coaches? And then why do their student athletes translate to professional athletic opportunities and potential stardom? So after everything they've been through, we now look at the fact that the American will have more schools than it's ever had as their members. They will have 15 members in total. Navy is football only, and Wichita is everything but football. But 15 total members in some way, shape, or form, and 14 football institutions. The American Athletic Conference will now have schools in Pennsylvania, Maryland, North Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. When I name those 10 states off, how would you describe the American Athletic Conference?
Broad. But you're right. I mean, it's funny, and I know you know this, Dan. There are plenty of people who have taken their opportunity to sort of poke fun at this Power 6 mantra that the American has had. But I have thought, in my opinion, first of all, I greatly respect it, and I applaud them for doing it. Number one, they're just promoting their brand, right? And they're promoting their conference and promoting their institutions. And to your point, when the Big 12 went looking for new members, they got 1 independent and 3 from the American. So, anybody that thinks that we don't belong is not paying much attention. We've had a lot of athletes, not just from the American, but from Conference USA, go pro. And, we've got a couple guys from our football team this past year. I think it's 4 that will all be on NFL rosters this year. And, we're producing some talented kids that they can't all play at Alabama and Ohio State and Texas. They just can't. And there's a lot of talented athletes at all these schools, and but we're thrilled to be a part of it. And the footprint that you mentioned is not unlike what we're used to, right? We were going all the way out to El Paso, Texas. We don't have to go quite that far west anymore. We were already going, Florida Atlantic is also joining. We were already going to Florida Atlantic. We were going up to Northern Virginia to Old Dominion. So we're going to go a little farther to Baltimore and or Annapolis and to Philadelphia. So we're going a little farther there. And in terms of, Wichita, Kansas, that's farther, more Midwest than we've been going. But, it's mostly major cities, and I think that makes travel easy. I think that's just really positive to be able to carry your brand to these other major cities and them do the same. It's just really positive for our school and should be really beneficial in recruiting for our students and student athletes.
And that coming from Mark Ingram of UAB. Mark, before I let you go, the 3 schools that are leaving, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston, there's irony to this argument, and I find it laughable that Houston, within their time inside of the American Athletic Conference, especially in the beginning, number one, they won the first ever American Athletic football championship game. I was at that game at the TDECU Stadium down in Houston, Texas. And Greg Ward Jr., who's now still a Philadelphia Eagle, was their quarterback at the time. Houston had a play there to be involved in, the national landscape in the postseason, but weren't given the prominence that they deserved. UCF did an unprecedented, just unrealistic to most, 25 straight victories and didn't get the love that they deserved, never played in a college football playoff in those 2 years, did something that most would consider impossible, which is go undefeated, lose your entire staff, and go undefeated with a new staff. And then Cincinnati, I was with them at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl where Georgia needed everything in a final couple-minute field goal just to win that game, and that game was commanded by Cincinnati at least 75% of the game. And then I was with them in their American Athletic Football Championship game against Houston. that catapulted them to the college football playoff, rightly so. I also interviewed Nick Saban of Alabama and asked him about Cincinnati, and he said that team 100% deserved to be in the college football playoff. So they gained some of them gained the finally, I guess Cincinnati, I guess what Houston tried to build and Cincinnati and UCF tried to build, Cincinnati finally got to, capitalize off of all of that. But it's a two-part question, and I had to build the bed there. And that the two-part question for you, Mark, is why are the Big 12 celebrating these three schools when the quote-unquote Power 5 thought that they were nobodies? And secondly, with those schools leaving that had prominence in the American Athletic, what makes you believe that UAB, UTSA, Rice, North Texas, FAU, and UNC Charlotte can continue the moniker of being a power conference?
Yeah, well, the results speak for themselves as far as why did the Big 12, invite them in, and I don't want to, speak for them, but that's the way I see it, is everything that you just mentioned, the type of success that those three in particular have had. Cincinnati didn't go to the college football playoff as a member of the Big 12. They went as a member of the American Athletic Conference. And, you mentioned that game with Georgia, the Peach Bowl, and Cincinnati, as I recall, had two guys that were maybe first-round draft picks at the corner position on both corners that were both out, that neither one of them played because of injury or something like that. And they had several guys out for injury that were key positions, and not just players, but NFL quality players. And you're right, yeah, Georgia was fortunate to come away with a win that year. And I remember watching that game and thinking absolutely Cincinnati was going to win it. So, as far as our ability to stay in, we're just very focused. And again, I don't want to speak for the other five schools that are coming with us, but I bet I can, in saying that at least at UAB, we're very focused on continuing to be the very best version of ourselves. And I'm confident that's the attitude we've taken to this point, and that's the attitude we're going to continue to take. And I think that if we do that, we will continue to find success in the American as we have in Conference USA. Now, I don't necessarily know that day one we're going to walk in the door and win the Conference USA or win the American Athletic Championship, but we might, and we've certainly got the ability to do it. And we've got great coaches, ready to go, but we're going to continue to make improvements here that we need to put the building blocks in place that allow us to have a nice foundation to be successful, get ourselves to where some of those other schools, SMU and Memphis, for example, get ourselves in a position more like they are, to where we're just more so doing smaller things to help stay fresh, rather than having to build a football stadium like we just did. That's a massive undertaking and a massive project. So, I'd like to get us to a place where we say, okay, we've got all of our basic needs covered. Having an oval track, well, that's a basic need. Now, does it have the grandstands and everything around it that I'd like to have? Not quite yet. But we've at least fulfilled our basic need that we have a flat surface that's the proper distance, And we've got to do that for a couple of other teams, tennis and baseball in particular. We need to renovate Bartow Arena to bring it up to the standard of quality that those American Conference schools have. So we're working on those things, and we'll do it, and we'll get there. But all those things will put us in a position, like I said, to just continue to be more successful and win championships in the future, and that's our goal.
Coming here from Mark Ingram this morning, spending the first hour wake-up call inside the Cafe Kubal studios with us, and coming from UAB as the Associate VP and Director of Athletics. Mark, final note here, 3 words that best describe the UAB Blazers right now, in your opinion.
Hungry, fierce, and fearless.
I like that. Hungry, fierce, and fearless. Your UAB Blazers, coming from Mark Ingram. Mark, I know we've spoken a couple times, but I love it. I love the opportunity. I love the fact that, I asked you to come on the show, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I said, hey, can you come on the show? And you're like, if I can have an hour to talk and hang out with you? And I was like, yeah, why not? Absolutely. I don't like putting restrictions on time. I love being able to tell stories. And this hour flew by because, it was just a very wonderful conversation with really, I think, to any fan of the American, any fan of UAB, and anybody that wants to get to know UAB and that listens and watches the show, you really painted a picture for us to know the history and know the come up of the Blazers in such a very well, put together message. And I just want to thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I love the fact that we get to spend this time together. And I'm very honored and hopeful that, not only do we get to spend much more together in the future, but in this world and everything we've been through in the last couple of years, hopefully you and I can sit down in a room where, human beings sit. So hopefully we can do that sometime soon.
Yeah, I'd love that. And you're great to have me on, Dan. And if you want, we'll do it again tomorrow.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And go Blazers. I'll talk with you soon.
All right, pal. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Coming here from Mark Ingram on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Hungry, fierce, and fearless. I love those words. Awesome stuff here. And Greg said, and some UAB merch, please, and thank you. Listen, Greg, I have been a fan of and I told Mark this off the air, I've been a fan of the Blazers logo for a long time because I'm a big kid and I loved dragons growing up, and I watched a dragon movie with my G-Mama, so I'm a big old fan of the logo, so I definitely appreciate that very much. We're going to take a step aside. We're into hour number 2. I don't want to take any time away from North Texas, so Wren Baker's coming up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Thanks for hanging out with us where sports meets that thing called life. We appreciate you so very much. We'll be back right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvelanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, as well as on 343 Fayette Street out in Manlius, New York, and of course at their one-year anniversary location at the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners there in North Syracuse. We are here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on the heels of the celebration of the teams that on my birthday were announced on October 21st, announced that they're going to be heading to the American Athletic Conference. 6 new institutions heading there, new to the conference, I should say, UAB, UTSA, Rice, as well as FAU, UNC Charlotte, and my guest that's with me right now, the North Texas Mean Green, are going to be heading to the American Athletic. And now we know the exact date. Mike Oresco came on the show a few days ago, told me that he anticipated July 1st, 2023, and then that ended up becoming a reality, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm here with North Texas VP and Director of Athletics, Wren Baker. And Wren has been on the show before, loved having him on just a little bit ago, and so very thankful and grateful of his time that he has come back here with us to celebrate the news of July 1st, 2023. So let's bring him in. Wren, how you doing today?
Well, we're doing great. We were excited to have this officially official.
Yes, the officially official news. So bring me into kind of like the behind the scenes, the anticipation of July 1st, 2023. How confident were you, and how long have you known that this was going to kind of be it for you?
Well, we always felt like this was the most likely date because we knew that the 3 institutions that were leaving really wanted to expedite their timeline to get into the Big 12. But like with any negotiations, I think there were times where the 2 sides there felt pretty close. Commissioner Oresco and his board of directors, and then the 3 departing institutions and their CEOs and their board. But there were also times where it didn't feel as close. And so, as we would talk to the American staff, and particularly Commissioner Oresco, there were certainly times where he seemed confident and times where he maybe didn't know. And so really it was over the last 3 to 4 weeks that we felt more and more confident that it was going to happen. We had a June 1st deadline in terms of when we had to notify Conference USA, but we were able to or actually May 1st originally, but we were able to work with Conference USA, and they've been great. They've treated us well on the way out, and we've negotiated an extension of the date. And so we were able to get this done. So it's a huge credit to the commissioner that he stayed with this. He knew what was best for the institutions coming in, which is what's best for the league, and he got it across the finish line.
Yeah, and being able to see this, I mean, once they negotiated that UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston were going to be out come the morning of July 1st, 2023, did that, kind of put you in a place where you said, okay, this is the most likely move, and it's kind of, I mean, before it was truly done, once you saw that come out, did you just kind of take a sigh of relief in a way and say, okay, like, we know that July 1st, 2023, because it makes the most sense for when the ones going out are going out, that we should be coming in. Once that domino fell, was it for you that reality of, okay, we got about a year to plan for this thing?
Well, I think the biggest relief was just that, we're developing a host of transition timelines and, plans and investments and the things that we're trying to do. And when that exit date from one conference and the entry date into the American, when that is in flux and unknown, it just holds some things up. And so, even financially, because of the way that, it works. I mean, we've got a distribution that's being withheld from Conference USA, but if we wouldn't come in until 24 later, we would get that distribution, and we'd have to put that into another fiscal year. So it certainly caused a lot of consternation, just because you want definite of answers you can have so you can plan for it. And as you know, college athletics has a lot of unanswered questions as a whole right now. So this is one that we now know the answer. We can solidify our plans, and we're excited. The fans are excited. Our coaches are excited. Our student athletes are excited. And so I'm really thrilled that we're going to be able to come in the fall of 23.
How do you navigate a final season in Conference USA with the excitement of joining the American?
Well, I think what's important for us is to finish strong and to continue to be good members of Conference USA and maintain good relationships. And sometimes when somebody's leaving a conference, they may get to a place where those relationships aren't as good, but I'm determined that that's not going to happen for us. I have a lot of respect for the institutions that remain in the conference. Certainly have a lot of respect for Judy McLeod in the conference office, and so we're gonna work really hard to do everything that we're supposed to do and expected to do, and then also it's really important. We've had a string here. I believe we've won 3 or more conference championships 4 out of the last 5 years. And so it's important that we continue to have success competitively this last year, just as a springboard into our move into the American.
Yeah, and we're here with Wren Baker once again of the University of North Texas. Happy to have him here. The Mean Green are front and center, as we know that officially they will be moving on to the American Athletic Conference on July 1st, 2023. And, Wren, for you as the VP and Director of Athletics over at North Texas, as you prepare for this and get ready for this, are there certain things that you need to kind of start putting in place now? What are some of the things, about a year out that you feel like you need to do to be prepared for the level of competition inside of the American Athletic? Institutionally, what are you working on?
Well, we're comparing ourselves with both the current league, with those 3 institutions in it, and those 3 institutions are certainly some of the biggest investors, but and then also the new league. We've run those comparisons, and we've looked at salaries, budgets, number of positions, and so we're what's challenging a little bit is as we're exiting Conference USA here and having a distribution withheld, that creates a financial hardship somewhat, and yet you're ramping up to spend a lot more as you make the transition into a new conference. So we're probably going to have to go into reserves a little bit to do the things that we want to do, but we're looking in our football non-coaching positions where we've got several other positions that we're looking at adding. We just renegotiated with our men's basketball staff, who's done a tremendous job, and and even as we went through that process, we looked really closely at the American, and so my executive leadership team does a great job. Our finance team, there's not much that they don't terms of comparing us with our peer institutions. And philosophically, I just believe if you look at the history of North Texas athletics and you look at this last 5 years and how competitive and successful that we've been, a big part of that is we've resourced our institutions very competitively. And, the American as a whole certainly resources their teams a little higher than Conference USA. And so we're going to do everything we can now and as we ramp up and go into the league, and then in those first few years afterwards, to ensure that we are in the upper half and in the upper quartile of the league in terms of investing in our programs, because we know if we do that, we're going to have success.
And we've talked about before what the Mean Green means, but to those who don't know, as you get set for the American Athletic, how would you describe what it means to be mean and green, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think what it means is that we're going to be resourceful. We're going to be competitive. We're going to be excellent academically and athletically. We're focused on our mission to build champions and prepare leaders. And we try not to be mean when we're not competing, but we try to be mean when we are, and mean in terms of we try and get the win. And we've got a wonderful group of young people in our athletic program, a great group of coaches. The program has come a long way. Our leadership with President Neil Smatras has been tremendous. 43,000 students, one of the most rapidly growing institutions in the country. And then we sit in probably the fastest growing area of the country, right in between Dallas and Fort Worth. And the DFW Metro is exploding really right in the corridor that we sit in. So it's a great institution. There's a lot of tremendous things on the horizon, and we're really excited about the future.
Wren, for you, as we're here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios with the North Texas Mean Green VP and Director of Athletics, why do you believe that your institution is rapidly, growing? What is it about North Texas that you feel has become so enticing in the here and now that you feel like what have you done and what has this institution done both athletically and academically, in your opinion, to become a place that people want to go to at a time where, there's schools that are worried about, future enrollment and whatnot? Why are you on the incline at North Texas?
Yeah, I would probably start by saying just the state of Texas is a state that is economically prosperous. It's a state that continues to invest in education, where a lot of states have been pulling back for several consecutive years. It's a state with no state income tax, so that draws a lot of people into the state.
Yeah.
And when you look at Denton is its own city, has its own identity. We're well over 100,000, approaching 200,000, and yet we sit basically within 45 minutes of both downtown Dallas and downtown Fort Worth. So you have access to everything that you would ever want in the world, from an entertainment standpoint, from a healthcare standpoint, from an education standpoint. And yet Denton has its own sense of identity and its own community, and you can get away from some of the traffic and those issues. And so, I think those are the things that make Denton and the state of Texas a great place to be. And then when you look at UNT, it's a large university with a very vast degree offering. We have over 100 top 100 ranked programs. Carnegie Tier 1 research institution, one of the 25 largest Tier 1 research institutions, one of only 13 that's ranked as both a Hispanic serving institution and a minority serving institution. So we have a very diverse campus, and as we know, that's what the world looks like. And so I think students get a great opportunity to get prepared for the world. And, athletically, we have just done a great job of really looking at the holistic and total development of the student athlete. So not just academic support, not just mental health support, not just nutritional support, but helping student athletes grow their brand, grow their awareness of financial literacy and what they need to be doing to prepare for their financial future. And I think when student athletes see that there's an investment and that people deeply care about them as individuals and as people, and not just about them as athletes, then they gravitate towards coming there. And we're really excited about what the future holds, and we know that we're positioned to compete very well in the American.
And I was going to go there, next, Wren, is what makes you believe that, not just in one sport or two, but across the board, when you're looking at joining another conference. I mean, Conference USA that you've been a part of, you've stayed there for a reason. Why do you feel that the American is the right fit for North Texas? And what is it about your programs that make you believe that you can continue that Power 6 conversation with the Conference of the American?
Well, one, I point to all the things that we just outlined. But I'd also point to the fact that the state of Texas is a top 5 talent producer in virtually every sport. And so we sit in an area with a very deep and talent-rich prospective student-athlete pool. And, there might have been a time where North Texas wasn't as invested in athletics. The brand wasn't as good. We had not made athletics an institutional priority, but really the last 15 to 20 years we have, and what we've seen is we went from just being members of the Sun Belt to being very competitive in the Sun Belt and winning conference championships, and that opportunity allowed us to springboard right into Conference USA, and we were able to do the same thing there. And so I believe we've discovered the formula of success. It is make sure that we're providing an opportunity that's as good or better as peer institutions across the country, and that we're investing in the total development, total person development of student athletes, as well as their athletic success. And if we do that, we're going to keep a lot of those talented young people right here in the DFW Metro and right here in Denton. And that's going to allow us to compete. And the confidence I have comes from it's not our first time to execute this plan. We've had to do it a couple of times, and we're confident that we have a plan now that's going to allow us to continue our upward climb.
Is there an institution currently in the American Athletic Conference that you feel is comparable as a peer institution for North Texas?
That's a good question. We probably have a lot in common with UCF, who's leaving, and we'll probably have a lot in common with USF, just in being metropolitan universities in states that are doing well financially, in states that, you pointed to the decline in enrollment overall across the country, and that's a serious concern epidemic. But Texas, the amount of college-ready high school graduates is still on the incline. We're basically one of the only states that enjoys that, and so we probably have the most in common with those two Florida institutions. But we also know that we're different, and our identity is unique, and we're going to have a plan for success that's tailored and fit to our institution.
That comment here from Wren Baker. Wren, you're joining a conference in the American that has teams that will now be in 10 different states for the American Athletic Conference of Pennsylvania, Maryland, North Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, of course, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. They will also have the largest institutional base ever in the American, with 14 member schools for football and 15 overall schools there. Navy is there for football only, Wichita for everything but football, and everybody else is a full-time member. So when I tell you that there's 10 different states in the American, what does that make you think of as far as identifying what the American Athletic Conference is? And then secondly, for you, looking at the fact that the American has risen like a phoenix more times than I think Mike Oresco wants to count, but now has 15 institutions and 14 in football. So through all of the realignment, all of the blood, sweat, and tears, they're going to have the most teams that they've ever had overall and the most that they've ever had for football.
Yeah, the geographic spread is probably both positive and a challenge. Positive in that we have great awareness across the country. We're in a lot of major metropolitan and DMA areas in terms of just TV presence and just a presence in those areas. Certainly, when you get spread geographically, you worry a little bit about cost, and you worry a little bit about developing those rivalries. But I think what's brilliant in what the American did this go-around is, even though nationally you look at the whole aggregate of institutions and there's quite the spread, there's also some really tight geographic opponents and some easy to develop rivalries, because it breaks down pretty nicely east-west. And I don't know that we're going to be playing divisions, but in terms of the way that we track standings. But I do think we'll look at scheduling opportunities that give us a chance to take advantage of those windows. I know our institution, we're excited about playing Tulsa. We're excited about playing. We've played SMU in some sports, but playing SMU in every sport, and then bringing rivalries with us from Conference USA like UTSA and Rice, and then even going to New Orleans. That's an easy trip for us. That's a trip that we've made many times over the years. North Texas has a pretty good history of even in the New Orleans Bowl, and so people here speak fondly of that. And New Orleans is a great place to visit. So, it gives us a chance to really take our brand and our institution into some areas that we haven't been. I don't know how many times over the years we've played Temple in different sports, but probably not very many yet. So it gives us a chance to touch alumni that are there, to expose UNT and North Texas athletics to a whole new subset of people, but yet also have schools like Tulsa who are just 4 hours away here by car that we can travel to and develop rivalries with. So I think the geographic composition will end up being a real plus.
Do you believe in the Power Six conversation? And Wren, with Cincinnati, here's the irony of it. And I was speaking with Mark Ingram from UAB in the first hour about this. I have covered the American since before it had a logo and a name. And so for the past decade, I've heard people have not always the nicest things to say about this Power Six conversation, or they just brush it off. Now, my argument is, if the American wasn't a place of great talent and a place that is enticing to obviously look to, then why every single season are you trying to poach the coaches, especially in the world of football, and then poach the institutions? The Big 12, and this is the funny thing to me, the quote-unquote Power 5 downplays UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. Then when the Big 12 says that they're getting Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, all of a sudden they're great institutions that are phenomenal. They didn't get the respect that they deserved when they were American institutions, but as soon as they get the notion that as soon as they got the Big 12 logo, people are saying, oh my God, look at how much better the Big 12 got. So what do you think about the Power 6 model and kind of the irony of not respecting the three that are going to the Big 12 and now all of a sudden they're getting it? And do you believe that the six institutions coming in, including yours of North Texas, can continue our Power 6 conversation?
Well, I definitely believe in the league and the way that it's established itself as a Power 6 conference, and they've done that maybe initially through kind of declaring it, and but then what was more important is the conference has backed it up. They've backed it up in their performance in virtually every sport, and so that's what's the most important, and I definitely believe that the league will continue on its trajectory. I think the institutions that are coming in are great institutions, are poised to excel. I was at Memphis as the league was formed, and so I have a unique perspective there in going from really being worried that the sky was falling as the Big East kind of crumbled, and then we launched the American, and Memphis has grown its brand and its success greatly during this last few years, and so I know that it's a brand that works. It's a group of institution that works, and certainly when you lose three successful institutions, that's difficult. But what the American has replaced them with, and the six that are coming in, are six institutions that are on the rise, six institutions that have athletics as a priority, six institutions that are investing at very high levels and enjoying lots of success, and six institutions who have incredibly high ceilings in terms of how good they can be. And so for those reasons, I have no doubt that the new composition of the American is gonna develop and grow and be just as successful as it has been.
Yeah, and Wren, I mean, you talked about the fact that you obviously have a unique experience with, when it comes to being connected with Memphis and seeing seeing this move into the American. And so you've already been able to see what that was and to be a part of that. And then obviously, like you mentioned, the success of Memphis that has come from that. Did that entice you for North Texas? That, because you saw Memphis go in and you've seen Memphis over the last decade just nationally get exposure and nationally have success, and it's not just on a conference level, but overall they have. I mean, is that something that you kind of look back on and said, hey, Memphis did it and look at what they become, so maybe North Texas should do this as well? Did that kind of push you even more to join the American because you saw what it's already done for an institution that you were a part of?
Absolutely. I mean, we looked very closely at all of the different conferences that are out there in FBS, and I would argue from top to bottom, no conference has benefited its institutions more in terms of the growth of their success and the growth of their brand than the American. Almost every institution has a much bigger profile, a much better track record of success than what they had established prior to joining the American. And I'm not sure you could say that about every conference. And so that was something that we looked at very carefully. We had conversations over the last couple of 3 years with multiple conferences, and we studied multiple conferences, but we always felt like the conference that would provide us the best avenue to continue on the trajectory that we're on, and frankly, to elevate it considerably was the American Athletic Conference. So for those reasons, we were really excited that we had the opportunity to join, and we know that it's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're excited for.
And I think I need to remind people, just in case they forgot, that back in March of 2021, North Texas got their first ever NCAA tournament win for men's basketball as a 13 seed over 4th seeded Purdue. So I just wanted to mention that again because, Wren, it feels good to mention it on a morning here. So I want to throw that out there to everybody. And final note, kind of going off of that and the success that you have had and the success that you're building upon, what are 3 words that best describe the Mean Green right now?
Resilient, caring, okay, and committed. I think this is an institution that cares for people, and I think it's an institution that is resilient, and I think it's an institution that's committed to be great in everything that we do.
That coming from Wren Baker. Wren, is there any other shameless plug you'd like to throw out there? I felt like I just needed to talk about that upset of the Big Ten, but is there any other one that you'd like to throw out before I let you go?
I would just tell anybody out there that doesn't know much about UNT or North Texas to get on the internet and look us up. You'll be shocked and surprised. If you have a family member or a loved one that's about ready to go to college, they should be looking at North Texas because it is a great place to live, great place to work, and a great community to live in and to grow in. And we've enjoyed being here very much.
Coming from Wren Baker once again here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Wren, I want to thank you, VP and Director of Athletics for the North Texas Mean Green. Thank you for your time and for always making time for me, and I look forward to many more conversations, and hopefully sometime soon we can have some sit-down time face-to-face. Would love to get to have, what we used to call normal in this world, so hopefully we get to do that soon, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done, and I congratulate you once again on joining the American and having a year here to enjoy Conference USA and then to step forward into a conference that I know pays off dividends and does a great job. And really, it comes from a front office that cares about the people so very much. So congratulations, and thank you for all that you do. And as always, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. Go Mean Green.
All right, take care. That coming from Wren Baker once again. Mean Green. I love it. Why? Because green is my favorite color. So, we were talking about it off the air. I said I love the Mean Green moniker because it's just a really cool thing. And I mean, it's who they are. So I appreciate it, and I thank him so much. And Wren, definitely always fun and always willing to make time. So I really do appreciate Wren Baker for being a part of the show here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are giving you the Making Moves special centered on the American Athletic Conference, now confirming what Mike Oresco, the commissioner, said to me just a few days ago, that the 6 new institutions of UAB, UTSA, Rice, North Texas, FAU, and UNC Charlotte will in fact be joining the conference right as UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston are leaving. The 6 new full-time members will be joining the American Athletic on July 1st, 2023. So excited about that, and we have another conversation to be had here, and I'm very much looking forward to having back on the broadcast here. Lisa Campos will be joining us, the UTSA VP for Intercollegiate Athletics, the leader of athletics for the Roadrunners, coming up right after this fast break where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? to be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. And, of course, in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building in the, I call it the Welcome Center of Manlius, 343 Fayette Street out in Manlius. And their one-year anniversary location, their drive-through on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. So, thanks to Cafe Kubal for being our studio partner, and thank you to you for being with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Keep in mind, today we will be back again at noon Eastern Time, as we'll be doing a bonus broadcast live with the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Oresco, but not before we celebrate these wonderful institutions coming in. We had the opportunity to speak with UAB's Mark Ingram, as well as North Texas's Wren Baker, and I am now here with someone who, she came onto the show for the first time last year, Lisa Campos, the Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA, and we had an awesome conversation. We had a lot of laughs, and, you know, I'm going to say this on the air, this is worldwide, but she's become one of my favorite people pretty quickly here in the world of sports, because she has a sense of humor, and she's definitely been leading a fantastic institution that I'm very excited for. And she knows us off the air, too. She has one of my favorite logos of the current world of sports. So with that being said, Lisa Campos is here with us. Lisa, how you doing today?
Good morning. I appreciate all those kind words, and you are becoming one of my favorites as well, so the feeling's mutual.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and UTSA has been absolutely incredible over the years here, and I know you and I were talking off the air about the success that has been coming through, and I'd love to share that with people, just where UTSA is right now and what the Roadrunners have done in recent history.
You know, it is such an exciting time, so much momentum, and I feel like I'm a broken record, but we got to keep sharing this story that as an institution, we're only 53 years old. As an athletics program, we're, you know, fairly young, and as a football program, we've only completed our 11th season, and this past year to win our first ever conference championship in football in such a short amount of time, to go to bowl games that we're doing. And then really over the last 7 months, you know, particularly in the fall, from opening up a $40+ million facility, which is the hub of UTSA athletics, to signing Coach Traylor to a 10-year deal, to being invited to the American Conference. It has been so exciting. And then you look at our other sports and the success that they're having. We were counting it. We were one run, one stroke, one race away from having 5 conference championships this year. And so we're right there. The momentum's so strong, and the community is so behind this university and this athletics program.
And like you said, I mean, to have so much success and then to be so close in all of these different athletic programs that you have, why do you believe that across the board your student athletes, whatever the sport is, whatever's going on, why do you believe that they have had continued success? Because some schools can say, hey, you know what, when it comes to rowing, we're in the top. When it comes to volleyball, we're the team. Football, it's us. Basketball, it's us. Softball, it's us. But in the world of UTSA, like you said, you're either there or you're right there. Why do you feel like your student athletes have had so much success, and you have multiple programs that you can speak upon as you get ready to head into the American?
You know, it all starts with our student athletes and our coaches. We have incredible student athletes who obviously were recruited by some incredible coaches. And, you know, when they all fit our vision, they fit who we are, our values, And then on the top, we have an incredible leader in Dr. Amy, who truly understands the value of athletics. He understands how it can transform this institution, how it can transform this city. So it is all in alignment. Things are rock and rolling in the same way. And again, it just starts with our incredible coaches and our incredible student athletes.
And you mentioned, and we talked about this before, making sure that you locked up your head coach for football and to have a multi-year extension that was there. We had spoken right on the heels of that happening, and now obviously we are, a few months past that decision being made. In the world that we live in today with college football, how incredibly was that, prominence for you and important for you to make sure that you took care of your coach and that your coach knew that you're investing in him and knowing that he's investing back in UTSA?
Yeah, it was critical. I mean, our human capital is what keeps us going. And again, to retain, to number one, recruit and then retain the coaches of the caliber that we have. I look at a Karen Aston, who is the second winningest coach at the University of Texas, took a year off, and now is the coach at UTSA. I mean, we're going to do what we can to retain her, to support her. Same with Coach Traylor and our other coaches. So it's the retention, the investment. We can't do it all at once, but we're getting to that point where we can continue to make investments, particularly in our coaches, in our staffs, because that's what's making us successful.
I love what you said and the way that you described it here, and I want to get into it a little bit deeper. We're speaking this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with Lisa Campos, the UTSA Roadrunners VP for Intercollegiate Athletics. You spoke about it's our human capital, and I love that being the statement that you made, human capital, that to play on, obviously, people think about money. It's all about the money. Athletics is all about the money, and collegiately, we got to raise it. We got to keep it. We got to beat out this other institution. You spoke about the importance of human capital and using that, term, which I think is phenomenal. I'd love for you to dive a little bit deeper into that term, where it comes from for you, and what human capital means in a world that focuses so much on the money of it all.
Yeah, you know what? For me, it's always about the relationships. It's about hiring. Someone asked me the other day about just retention of our staff, and it starts with the hiring process. It starts with hiring individuals like Coach Traylor, who believe, number one, in student athletes and believe in the enterprise that this really is about developing our students, developing 18 to 22-year-olds. And I know that sounds cliche, and I know in the transformation of what we're going through in intercollegiate athletics, at the root, that's what we're here for, is our 18 to 22-year-olds. So it starts with the recruitment of incredible humans who are also competitors, who are great at their job, who know the X's and O's, and then who can then develop their staff. I look at Coach Traylor and what he's been able to do in a short amount of time in his recruitment of his staff, and then the retention. He's had some openings, and what he's been able to do is promote within, and it's just this culture of winning and this building of culture that's so important. And again, if we don't have the right people in the right places in our department, then this thing's not going to continue to elevate.
And like you said, having those right people in the right places, Lisa, you're tasked with not only finding those people, but retaining them, which you had made mention of before. We look at the world of the transfer portal now and how you have to not only recruit your student athletes, but you have to re-recruit them every year. What can you say about your job as the VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA? Do you feel that you have to re-recruit your coaches, and what do you do as far as retention goes to make sure that they know that they're appreciated no matter how many years they've been there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, that's what we experienced with Coach Traylor this fall, right? That we had to re-recruit him. But again, that didn't just happen in October. That happened after his first season, and we started having conversations about what it was going to take to make his program better, what we need to invest in, whether it was nutrition, whether it was additional staff, whether it was his current staff. And those conversations happen all through the summer. So it's just that relationship building, making sure that they're feeling supported. And that's for all of our coaches, just being there for them, getting to know their programs. We put a lot a responsibility in our sport administrators to really be involved with our coaches. And again, it doesn't always come down to the dollar. It comes down to those intangible things that really make our coaches feel like they are part of this incredible journey. And I think that's part of it too right now, is that everyone knows in our department what a sleeping giant UTSA is, and it's being woken up. It's, we saw it last semester, this past year, and they want to be a part of it because it's an exciting time, particularly if you're a legacy kind of person, if you're a builder, which is the kind of folks that we're looking for when we're hiring. This is the type of person who's going to be excited to stay at UTSA.
And Lisa, when you said sleeping giant, why do you believe that UTSA is that sleeping giant? What is it about the institution that gives you that giant status, and why is that giant finally waking up?
Oh my goodness, you look at the size of the city that we're in, being in San Antonio, the brand of San Antonio, again, being in the 7th largest city in the nation, the multicultural demographics of the city. We look like what the rest of Texas or the rest of the United States is going to look like in several years. Our president, who is transforming the academic profile of this institution, getting Tier 1 status this past year, that there is just so much potential in what we're doing, having, the number one cybersecurity school in the nation, being in Military City, USA, like everything that we actually can't control, where the university is located, being in the 7th largest city, being in a population that continues to grow, like it's all positives.
And when you see that, when you see the melting pot, that America has been really forever, but, as you see now, culturally, what campus looks like, and as you said, that's a reflection of your community, and it's a reflection of, what America is becoming. What does that mean for you, and to walk on a campus and see, the cultural footprints of so many different backgrounds and heritages?
Oh, it's the reason I took the position. People, when you look at my career, I've been at institutions that fit who I am, what my mission and vision is, and the folks that I want to impact. And from a UTEP, which was a HSI, to an NAU, which was a very Native American serving institution, serving first-generation students, and then to UTSA, that's what I want to be a part of, that we are serving, we're at HSI, we're serving first-generation students. I'm a first-generation college grad myself, that those things matter, and not to just have an impact within intercollegiate athletics, but hopefully to have an impact on, our 36,000+ students at UTSA.
And you said, you're a first generation when it comes to college. So, you can really interact with your student body in a very unique way, because you can say, hey, a lot of you might be going through this, and I went through this as well. Sometimes when we look at, VPs for intercollegiate athletics, athletic directors, and whatnot, sometimes people feel like they're out of touch. But you can tell a story that's very in touch. What does that do for you? And do you feel like it's created very deep-rooted connections to the student body and student athletes that you can sit with them and say, hey, I'm not just up here and you're going to see me, once a semester or when you come into school, and I'm not just the person that's up on stage speaking for 30 minutes, but I'm somebody who walked where you walked and has done what you've done, and I can speak to you on it, and I can speak to the challenges of that as well.
Absolutely. And it's probably more for me than the students, that I just get such a thrill of interacting with our student athletes, interacting with our student body, the SGA cabinet, to find out how can athletics help, and how can I personally help with exactly what you're saying with my story. And I tell all our student athletes, I don't want any excuses. I grew up in a town of 3,000. I'm the first to graduate from college in my family. I didn't have, the ton of resources that our student athletes have. So there's no reason that they cannot leave here with a degree in hand. And hopefully I can be a role model and example for our students.
And for you, speaking here with Lisa Campos, the VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA. The last time we talked, people were having trouble saying the word UTSA. Have they gotten better at saying University of Texas San Antonio?
I think we made our point last year, but that was so much fun with the tennis association. We paired up and did a lot of Twitter exchange with each other, and we had a lot of fun with that. But yes, I think people have figured out it is UTSA.
Well, good. I'm happy that they did that. I was like, it's an acronym. So if you know it's University of Texas San Antonio, you should know where to put the letters to the corresponding words. But, I expect too much from some people. But Lisa, here this morning, we know that for sure July 1st, 2023 is going to be the date that you're going to be joining the American Athletic Conference. Between here and now is about a year. What do you have to do in the background that you feel like people don't know about in anticipation of getting ready for the American move?
We have so much work ahead of us, and large scale, small scale. I mean, even from changing out, when the time is right, changing out all the logos in our facilities, getting the American Athletic Conference flag up everywhere. And so those small things to really preparing from a broadcast standpoint, that we have an incredible opportunity to have so many of our games all over, all of our programs broadcast. So we got to beef up on that equipment, that staffing. So a lot of different things, from, again, small scale to large scale investments that need to happen here in the next couple of years.
Which ones are you most excited about? I know you said there's a lot to do, but is there a project or two that you really can't wait to get your hands on?
I'd kind of divide those into two things. Our facilities, we continue to pour into our facilities, and those are always exciting endeavors. Getting our community involved, we're breaking ground on an $8 million upgrade to our soccer and track and field programs. We're looking at a basketball practice facility and volleyball facility. Of course, we need to do something with our baseball and softball facilities, and there's a lot of interest and momentum right now. So those projects are always fun. And then more of the in-house things that our staff's working on, from our IT again to our broadcast. But all of it, it's just, pouring in again to our coaches, helping and supporting them. And, this is going to be a big transition for them, and trying to figure out what is it that's going to help them the most, and starting to figure those things out. So a lot on our plate, but it's all opportunity, and we're embracing it.
Making Moves special here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we feature institutions that will be joining the American Athletic Conference on July 1st, 2023. We're here this morning inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with Lisa Campos live, and speaking with the VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA. So, Lisa, as you said, going through this and getting prepared and getting ready and all the different things that you have to do, looking back on it, hindsight here, that it's been a few months since the decision was made public on my birthday of October 21st. And I'm gonna say that all the time, because the American and I have always had a connection that seemed very poetic. And I said to Mike, I'm like, you did this on my birthday. Was it on purpose? And I know Brian White came on the show from FAU, and he was like, well, when we were sitting in meetings, we said we have to do it on October 21st for Dan. So
that's right.
But it's just very unique for me, and the American has always touched my soul in a different way. So, looking back a few months to when this all came about to now, and knowing that it's tangible July 1st, 2023, why do you feel that this was the right place to go? I mean, Conference USA, obviously you respect them. You don't just leave unless you think there's going to be a better opportunity to advance UTSA. So why is the American Athletic Conference why are they the right move for you? And do you believe in the Power 6 moniker, and can UTSA make that a reality?
Yeah, you know what? As we went, we knew it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when conference realignment was going to happen. And we really wanted to position ourselves to be in consideration of what that might look like. And the American, you look at the successes they've had, from the Cincinnatis to the Houstons to the UCFs, that is what we aspire to be. We aspire to be San Antonio's nationally recognized Division I program, and conference alignment matters. And you look at the American, and they are the premier group of five. I know Mike will kill me for saying that, but group of five conference. And I need to learn more, his vision about the P6, but absolutely, we are going to contribute to that. You look at, our football program, the success it's had, and we're going to continue to to contribute to what the American's doing. And, a lot of times we look at a UCF model when you compare UCF and UTSA, there is a lot of similarities to how young we are, our enrollment growth, the different conferences we've been in, the success of the football program. And so there's no reason we can't continue to invest in athletics to look like those teams.
And you said, obviously, UCF is one that connects to you and what UTSA looks like. For you in that respect, I mean, UCF was, and I don't mean any disrespect to the institution for this, but they were a relative, afterthought in the world of collegiate athletics. They joined the American Athletic Conference, and within being a part of the American Athletic Conference, they shot to prominence. They shot to national prominence. They went 25-0 over 2 seasons. They were in the conversation, in my opinion, for the college football playoff. They won 11 games straight after a hurricane. I mean, there's so many things that I saw UCF do, and not just in football, but in basketball and different places. When you see what they did within the American, did that entice you because you can kind of like parallel, as you made mention of UTSA, your institution to UCF, because you see similarities between yours and theirs, seeing what they've done and the success they've had and the national exposure they've had, did that entice you that a parallel institution could do something like that in the American? Did that really kind of sit with you and make you think, hey, the American, if it's been good for UCF and we can, kind of look at them and see the similarities, that it would be good for us as well?
Absolutely. And I don't know if our coaches and staff will remember this, but that is one of the first slides I showed our staff back in 2018. We have a staff member who came from UCF, and we did the comparisons, and we showed our staff, why not us? Look at what they've done, and why not us? And being an American is going to help with that, and we're just really looking forward to the opportunity ahead of us.
We talk about the road runners, and they say, I always love this, and I think it's funny because people say, oh, that's so cliche, but what I find funny about things that are cliche is that 99% of the time they're true. So even though it's cliche, it's kind of like if you say something's cliche, it's almost like a compliment. So they say that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a journey. You should appreciate the journey and not just the destination. Well, a road runner runs really darn fast and would run fast in a sprint. So how do you make sure, Lisa, that in the world of UTSA, your road runners, as fast as they are being a part of the journey and the grander picture than just the destination?
I love that question, and we talk a lot about that in our staff meetings and coaches meetings, that, we need to pause every once in a while and celebrate what we've done, because it's so easy to move on to the next thing. And this season this whole year has been so incredible, and we've continued to pause throughout the year to just celebrate each other, to celebrate our student athletes, to celebrate what we've done. Not to say that we're going to take our foot off the pedal. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we have taken the time to celebrate and just, be with each other and be thankful and grateful for the staff that we have, for the coaches we have, and really, again, to celebrate what we've been doing together.
UTSA, in joining this, you're joining a conference now that geographically, this is what the conference is going to look like. The American Athletic Conference has teams in 10 different states: Pennsylvania, Maryland, North Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, of course, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. When I tell you that that is the geography of the American, what words and thoughts come to mind?
You know what? I think we're used to it. Being in Conference USA, we've been spread out. But, having the Texas present was really important to us. Back to your previous question, that being with 3 other Texas schools was really important. And then really the other regional, somewhat regional, Tulsa, Tulane, looking forward to getting to know more about Navy and Temple and some of the schools that are further away. But we're used to it, being in Conference USA, being so geographically spread out. But really, again, the importance was being connected to this region and the other Texas schools.
Yeah, and like you said, with UTSA and with North Texas, coming in and whatnot, and Rice as well, you also have SMU And amidst all of this, the American Athletic during COVID moved their offices from Providence, Rhode Island to Irving, Texas. So has this conference, in moving its headquarters to Texas and having now what will be 4 Texas institutions, how do I say this? Is Texas now the beacon of the American, I guess? I don't want to take away from any of the other states, but it seems like, this Texas headquarter seems all the way too fitting when you have 3 Texas schools coming in. So is the American low-key trying to, make that Lone Star State something of prominence right now?
Right. I'm going to be careful how I say this, but you know what? Texas is obviously a great state to be in, great place to live, and a lot of things happening. And what's the saying that everything's bigger in Texas? So we're just excited that we are with some Texas schools, and that the conference is located here. And we have a lot of special places within the American. But it's good time to be in Texas.
It definitely is, and I definitely know. I mean, Texas is its own world, right? And it was funny in the beginning of the pandemic. DeAndre Smith, good friend of mine, who's at Texas Tech at the time, he's the New York Giants running backs coach now, and we were just talking about how what life was like, and are people still living? Are they still being free? Obviously, being careful, but Texas has always been its own bird, and I feel like no matter where you are, when somebody talks about Texas, you're like, oh, they live their life down in Texas. So how would you describe the state of Texas to somebody who's never been there, and what do you like about being in Texas?
Oh, my goodness. There's such diversity, particularly in San Antonio. It's such a beautiful city to live in, and Texas is just such a great state to be in. Again, I've lived in El Paso, I've lived in San Antonio, and the communities have been so family oriented. Even though we're the 7th largest city, it has a small town feel to it. Very supportive of our institution. So it's just a wonderful place to be.
You said that as politically as you possibly could, Lisa. I want to be like, y'all don't mess with Texas. You know what I mean? So, but I have to ask you this too. And please don't get mad at me, San Antonio. Please don't get mad at me, state of Texas. The best barbecue I've had in my travels was in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was at the Liberty Bowl with the Memphis Tigers going in that game and doing their thing. So I don't want to take away from anybody in any stretch of imagination. I got to be honest, the best chicken barbecue that I've had was in Memphis. So tell me about San Antonio. Tell me about the barbecue down in Texas, and what should I know about coming? Because I've been to Houston, but I've never been to San Antonio.
I'm going to tell you, follow JJ Perez. I don't know his Twitter handle right off the top of my head. He knows of all. He has scoped out every barbecue place, I think, here in San Antonio. He will post pictures. But I've been to Memphis. That it's a different kind of barbecue. It's different.
It is.
I'd say I prefer my Texas barbecue. But yeah, a lot of great places. But follow JJ Perez, give him a shout out, and he'll tell you about all the great barbecue places here in San Antonio and probably in the States.
Fair enough. I like that. And I'm very hungry this morning. I shouldn't have asked that question. So we are here this morning, and before I let you go, Lisa Campos here with us, the VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA for the Roadrunners, joining the American on July 1st, 2023. As a few days ago, Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the conference, told me that was the hope. Now it is a reality. Lisa, there's irony in the world of sports, and I'm going to mention it here very, very easily because it deserves to be mentioned. Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston did not get the respect that they deserved as American Athletic Conference members. And it's weird to me that now that they're Big 12 members and will be, as of July 1st, 2023, everybody's saying, look at all these great teams that we got. Look at these awesome institutions. They're so incredible. But when they were American institutions, people said they had no business being in the college football playoff. My question to you is, what are your thoughts on the irony and, to me, hilarity of not respecting those three, but now that they're moving, the respect is coming? And then secondly, do you believe in the power conversation of a Power Six. And how do UTSA, UAB, Rice, North Texas, FAU, and UNC Charlotte keep the hopes alive of being a power conference in the American?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know what? It's sort of like, who do you hang out with? What's your reputation with the friends that you're associating with? And alignment matters, and conference affiliation matters. And to your point, we're seeing that right now. And I'd say that UTSA is always the underdog. That you look at what happened to us with the baseball committee, that we got snubbed there. We certainly deserved a bid in there, and so it'll be interesting when we move into the American how much more respect we'll get. So conference affiliation matters, and I sat, like I said, through before we got on air, sat in 3 days of NCAA meetings, and it's going to be interesting how we move forward and the transformation committee and their work, and what does P6, P5, G5, what does all that look like in the future? I don't have all the answers, but what I know is affiliation does matter for sure.
Sitting in those NCAA meetings, what were your biggest takeaways?
Change is upon us, for sure. I think I'm going to state the obvious that, it's uncertainty. And we've been talking about it, that there's so much uncertainty, and there's a lot of work that Julie Cromer and Greg Sankey are leading in the transformational committee. And we just don't know what this is going to look like, but we got to figure it out, and we got to have solutions to this national landscape. And so I think that those are the biggest takeaways. Again, it's not new, but again, a lot of uncertainty, and we got to get some solutions sooner than later.
The transfer portal, NIL, the transformation committee, the fact that the NCAA president is stepping down, the fact that the NCAA president Mark Emmert had said at the beginning of the pandemic he has no control over college football at all. So where do we go from here? Like you said, change is upon us. Change is inevitable. Change exists in the world of collegiate athletics right now. But being in these meetings, do you feel any better about where we're heading? Do you feel like NIL and the transfer portal will have some type of regulation and some type of unified set of rules that we can all follow? Where are things right now? Has the Wild Wild West gotten any better, or are we still out there firing, at will, so to speak?
I think it's just too soon. I think, it is new. The NIL transfer portal, NIL more so obviously, is so new that we got to let it calibrate, right? And it'll be interesting. We heard from John Duncan and the enforcement and what they're trying to do from an NCAA perspective. Again, until we have national standard, things are going to be different for all institutions in all states. And so to me, it's just so fairly new, and it has to calibrate, and how it calibrates, I'm not sure. And how Congress or states continue to be involved will be, that'll guide how we move forward. But what's certain is that until we have either federal or a national standard, things are going to be very different for all of us.
Yeah, and it going off of that, I mean, are you a fan of the thought of deregulation? I mean, it's kind of, we look at this and going off what we said, like Texas is its own place, that, we look at the United States of America, we have a national government, and then we have states, and each of those 50 states have certain say in what they want to do. Are you a fan of the NCAA saying, hey, we'll be your national government per se, but we're going to deregulate and let our states, aka our conferences, make more decisions?
Right. I think that we all have to take a look as institutions, is what are our values? What do we want to be in terms of Division I? And then be that. And the deregulation is going to allow for that. And really, we can make decisions now. We just have more pressures. And actually deregulation may create even more pressures because now you're not mandated to do some things. But I think at the end of the day, each institution has to be in alignment with what the institutional vision and mission is. And then we have to operate in that manner.
And Elisa, you spoke about, UTSA being snubbed in baseball. We know the American Athletic has felt that snub in the college football playoff. So in this world of NCAA meetings and whatnot, can you give us any hope of college football playoff moving to 8, moving to 12, moving to literally anything more than 4?
Sadly, I don't think I can give any hope at this point. I think we got to have, some collaboration, and we obviously didn't see that. And, but I don't know what the future holds, but we got to have some leadership and some collaboration for this thing to make sense.
I just think at this point I'm going to apply to be the president of the NCAA. I mean, it's...
Go for it, Dan. Go fix all the problems.
So that coming from Lisa Campos here, VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. For the Roadrunners, 2 final points here. One of them being that you have an interesting schedule coming up for football this year in 2022. You're going into the American in 2023. Houston's coming out, and you're going to play Houston to start off the season. You're also going to be on the road at Army, which is a fantastic institution for more than just being athletics, of course, for what they do to protect our country and the world. And then you're going to be going up against Texas, who's leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. So you have a very unique model as you have a team that's leaving that you're going into that conference. You have another realignment team in Texas, and then you have the military connection with Army in those first 3 games. What are your thoughts on that and the fact that the backdrop of those has to do with realignment?
It's just serendipitous, right? that this all happened in the teams that we're playing, and that those games get scheduled years in advance. It's just, again, coincidental that this is all happening this year. But Coach Traylor doesn't allow me to look ahead beyond the first game, but I'm going to anyway. It's a tough schedule. It's going to help us identify where we are. And I know that Coach will do all he can to position the team to be competitive in all those games. But it is, I will recognize it's a tough start to the schedule, and all of those schools offer something different, unique and different for sure.
Final point here, Lisa. 3 words that at this point in time fittingly describe UTSA in your opinion.
3 words. Well, on the move, and I'll throw bold in there because we are being very bold.
Okay, so I'll let you have terms here. So if on the move is one of them and bold, then give me a third one.
The third one would be aspirational.
Okay. Aspirational, on the move, and bold. Things that I got from Lisa the first time I spoke with her, and I definitely continue to see it here today. So I appreciate that. And all I hope for as we move forward here, Lisa, is that I become somebody that's big enough in your world that you name drop me like you name drop JJ Perez. That's all I want.
JJ's going to owe me a barbecue sandwich for that.
JJ's going to owe us both because I said his name a couple times. I think if I say it 3 times, it becomes something that has to have a monetary connection to it. So price tag, JJ Perez, make it happen.
That's right.
Lisa, thank you for what you're doing for UTSA, for all the work with the Roadrunners, for everything that you're doing for, culturally in not only your school, but in the state and in the country. I appreciate that personally. So Lisa Campos here, VP, Intercollegiate Athletics, UTSA, and the Roadrunners are on the move come in about a year's time. So in the meantime, Lisa, I look forward to talking with you soon, and I just want to say thank you for the laughs, thank you for the conversation, and thank you for the fight that you have in you. You're one of those people that gets me energized to go out and do something, so I can only imagine what those meetings are like, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much. You have a great day.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
See you. That coming from Lisa Campos once again on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We are pulling extra time here on Wake Up Call because I'm the boss. I get to do whatever the heck I want to do. So that's the beauty of being the name on the door. So I'm very happy to be able to have this on the move conversation this morning with 3 of the 6 institutions that will be joining the American Athletic Conference on the heels of the news that they're going to be joining officially on July 1st of 2023 and competing in the 2023-2024 seasons, which is a year from now. I had the opportunity to feature 3 of those 6 schools, like I said, in UAB, North Texas, and UTSA. We'll thank them, and we'll wrap up today's broadcast right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. From inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, you are amazing, you are important, and don't let anybody else ever tell you different. You're a special, special piece You're a part of everything that this world is. You're a piece of the fiber, right? It's like being in a quilt. If we took you out of the quilt, there'd be an open patch. So remember that. You are a piece to the grander scheme that God has for this world. And you, just by being born, are important, relevant, and special. So we'll take a step aside. We'll be back right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. You can also find them by going to 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown striped building. Their double-decker is there for you, as well as their one-year anniversary location and their first ever drive-through location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corner. So go out and see them today in North Syracuse. Fill your cup up right with Cafe Kubal. It goes such a long way. Folks, listen. Getting your cup of coffee at this place or that chain or that chain. Cafe Kubal is local to Central and Upstate New York. They're a part of our community. The owner, operator, and creator of Cafe Kubal, Matt Goddard, started brewing his own coffee in his parents' basement. This is a true story of somebody who believed in himself, has a passion, followed that passion, and gave it all he could. From being in his parents' basement to having multiple locations and being able to make our coffee here, celebrate our coffee here, and our chais and everything they do, and bring them to you. This isn't just this place is down the road and that one's 5 minutes away. If Cafe Kubal is an extra 10 minutes, drive there. If you got to make a right instead of a left, go there. Because the story of Matt Goddard and the story of this entire team of Cafe Kubal is an incredible one. Every cafe has its own identity. So going to a Cafe Kubal on 401 South Salina Street and going to the one on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, they're totally different looking. That's the beauty of it. They have the same amazing products, but each of them has their own style and their own identity. It's like being a part of a family, right? You all have the same blood, but you all have different personalities. That's Cafe Kubal to me. It's an experience different everywhere you go, but the thing that keeps them all together is the flavors that you love. The chai that I love, the coffees that you love, the chocolate chip cookies and chocolate chip banana bread and everything that they offer. It's having the one downtown on Salina Street give you the opportunity to have a bar and to have the opportunity to have a drink there outside of the world of coffee. There's so much with Cafe Kubal, and it all started in a basement. It all started with an idea. It all started with passion. It all started with love, and Matt still has that passion, and I see that in him. I see that in him because he never stops growing. He never stops pushing himself. He's never complacent staying in a box. Cafe Kubal is the definition of living outside the box, and that's why I love them. That's why I appreciate them, and that's why I want to thank the team of every single location. With that being said, I will also want to thank today our fantastic guests inside of maandpaspopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We got to celebrate what I like to call the Making Moves special because 6 institutions will become full-time members of the American Athletic Conference. And on the heels of the July 1st, 2023 news that's when they'll all be joining, I had the opportunity today to speak with Mark Ingram, the Associate VP and Director of Athletics at UAB, aka University of Alabama, Birmingham, the Blazers. And then we had the opportunity to speak with Wren Baker, the VP and Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas for the Mean Green, and finished off today's show with some expanded extra time with Lisa Campos, the VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at UTSA, the University of Texas San Antonio, and the Road Runners. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here where sports meets life. You're here with me watching on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. You're also with me on MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT for live worldwide streaming radio. You can catch that radio on WakeUpCallDT.com as well, where the MixLR feed is embedded. And you can download the MixLR app so that you can just search one word, Wake Up Call DT, and you'll get emailed every single time the show goes live if you click follow. And of course, we're also on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. Once the shows go live, you will find us on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I think I said Spotify, but I'll say it again. Podbean, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Audible, and more. You can ask your Alexa devices to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can also ask your Google devices to do the same thing. We are in so many places that you are going to find us no matter where you go by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word, Wake Up Call DT. I want to thank all of our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pup, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Campground Dog Daycare, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. You can get your popcorn ready by going to maandpaspopcorn.com. Anywhere in the 50 states, they will take your order at maandpaspopcorn.com, and they will ship it right to your doorstep. Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, as well as Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay. And Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Our Lemoyne Dolphins are here with us on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We call it Dolphin Time, and we have every first and third Wednesday. AD and DT episodes are here for you with Athletics Director Bob Beretta of Lemoyne and myself, Dan Tortora. We brought you the exclusive conversation of the first time Lemoyne talking about realignment and reclassification under Bob Beretta's leadership as Athletics Director, and continuing that under the leadership of President Dr. Linda Lemura. We also, from there, got to give you the exclusive update on that realignment reclassification conversation and an update to the update. So plenty of exclusives coming to you through AD and DT, and of course in our Dolphin Dive specials as well, sitting down with student athletes, coaches, administration, as well as future Dolphins and alumni every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Our Lemoyne tab has been updated, the Lemoyne page on wakeupcalldt.com. Check it out for plenty of these shows that I'm talking about. And of course, you can subscribe to us and get them on youtube.com /wakeupcalldt for more information on your Dolphins. Know that they never swim alone. They are on LeMoyneDolphins.com. The Marywood University Pacers are proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners here with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as well. It is Pacer Pride all the time, and for me, through the rest of my life, from 2003 to now, Pacer Pride forever and a day and beyond that, because I am a very proud Pacer. Marywood University Pacers come to us on Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time with new editions of Pacer Pride, exclusive content from student athletes, coaches, and administration at Marywood University. You can check those out by going to the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as our archive has been updated on wakeupcalldt.com, so you can see plenty of the videos that I'm talking about. And of course, you can also subscribe to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt and search Marywood there for all of our Marywood University content. And for more information on those amazing Pacers, go to marywoodpacers.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are also proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month giving you specials with student athletes, administration, as well as coaches. We have had the exclusive to Clay Gagan-Sherman. We got to break the story that he was getting hired as the men's basketball head coach. It was exclusive breaking news from Mother's Cupboard on 3709 James Street in Syracuse. Then we had the exclusive first conversation breaking news with Tate Baker on campus at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse when he was named the women's basketball head coach. And we had the exclusive exit interview conversation with Danny Frasina at PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, as he was leaving the program that he started, the men's basketball program at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. We've spoken with the student athletes en route to the national tournament opportunity in women's basketball. We have sat down with Alex Grigorita, who is a national champion and the women's soccer head coach and assistant AD at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. We've sat down with Nick Dimitrievsky, who's the AD, men's soccer head coach, and a multi-time national champion. And we've sat down with Sean Peak on campus, who is starting the newest program at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, which is their baseball program. All of those Bobcat Buzz specials are available to you by going to the BSC-SYR tab on wakeupcalldt.com or by joining us on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and clicking subscribe. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. With that being said, I want to thank you all for tuning into this broadcast. We're going to be back in less than a half an hour as Wake Up Call is pulling double duty today. We're doing another live broadcast in less than 30 minutes as we will be joined by the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Oresco, on the heels of the July 1st, 2023 news that the 6 institutions will be coming in as full-time members. A few days ago, he told me that's what he thought would happen, and today we get to speak on that coming to fruition and being a reality. So we'll be back in just a little bit, so stay close to MixLR, Facebook, and YouTube, all.com/wakeupcalldt. Thanks to Cafe Kubal. And, of course, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk soon.